So chances are you've already upgraded to Node.js 22. You probably did it without giving it a second thought. I mean, on the surface, it just looks like another small update, right? But what if I told you there's a critical shift happening under the hood that most people have completely missed?
Think about it. You ran the update, your tests passed, you deployed to production. Easy. But did you actually notice the fundamental change in what Node.js is becoming? Because beyond that version number, something really significant has changed.
See, there are a few really quiet changes in this release that have a huge impact on performance, on security, and even on the way we design our backend systems. So let's break down what actually changed and, way more importantly, why it really matters.
Here's the core of the problem. When a new Node version comes out, most dev teams have a pretty standard and, let's be honest, a kind of superficial playbook that they follow.
It looks something like this, doesn't it? First, you check. Is it stable? Yep. Okay, then, does it break any of our existing code? Nope. All right, hit deploy and get back to building features. Job done. Or is it?
The real risk with Node 22 isn't about some glaring bug or a breaking change. The real risk is in what you're missing. These are architectural shifts, and if you don't understand them, you're leaving huge optimization opportunities on the table. Or even worse, you might be introducing subtle issues that'll only show up in production way down the line.
All right, so let's get to the good stuff. Let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the 3 core changes that every single backend developer really needs to understand.
We're going to focus on 3 key architectural shifts. And I'm not just talking about features here. I'm talking about genuine changes in philosophy that tell us exactly where Node is headed. First up, we've got major improvements to the experimental permission model. Now, the really cool thing here is the concept itself. This is Node's big move toward a sandboxed execution model, where you can actually put limits on what your application is allowed to do while it's running.
So what this means is you can now restrict access to the file system, you can control whether or not child processes can be spawned, and you can manage the creation of worker threads. This is a huge deal. Traditionally, a Node app had full trust and access to everything in its environment. This changes the game, especially for any system that has to run untrusted code.
Second, the V8 engine update. Now I know every new Node version comes with a new V8, but this one is particularly important. We're seeing much better garbage collection, way faster operations on arrays, and just overall improved memory handling.
And I get it, these don't sound like flashy, headline-grabbing features. But if you're running high-throughput APIs that are handling thousands of requests a second, these small incremental improvements directly impact your real-world latency. This is where you find the performance gains at scale.
And third, Node is continuing to align itself with web APIs. It's consistently closing that gap between the backend and the browser. We're getting more stability in the Fetch API, big improvements to web streams, and just a much better alignment with web standards. For any full-stack team, this is amazing. It just reduces so much friction when you're sharing code.
So how does all this stuff fit together to create a bigger picture? Well, this is where most developers are underestimating the true impact. It's not just about the individual features, it's about what they all mean together. It all comes down to this central idea. Node is evolving. It's moving beyond being just a simple JavaScript runtime, and it's really maturing into a more robust, more controlled, and more secure environment to run your code in. The focus is shifting to production-grade isolation and discipline. And this evolution has a direct impact on the kinds of systems we're all building today. For SaaS platforms, it means you can finally build secure sandboxed extensions for your users. For serverless, you get stronger isolation. For plugin ecosystems, you get granular control. And for all these new AI environments popping up, it provides a much safer runtime. This shift changes how we should all be thinking about our architecture. Okay, so that's the high-level theory. But what does this actually look like in practice? Let's bring these ideas down to earth with a concrete example you can apply to your own work. Imagine you're building a SaaS platform that lets users upload their own plugins. Before this new permission model, you basically had to cross your fingers and just trust that the user's code wouldn't do something malicious. But now you can explicitly restrict those capabilities at runtime. You can lock it down. And that is not just a simple feature upgrade. That is powerful architectural leverage. It fundamentally changes the security model of your application and lets you build systems that were honestly just too risky before. Or let's go back to those V8 optimizations. For a high-traffic API, even a tiny reduction in tail latency like we're seeing here has a massive impact when you multiply it by millions or even billions of requests.
These tiny improvements add up to create a much more stable and responsive system when it's under heavy load.
So as we start to wrap this up, what's the one crucial thing you should walk away with? What's the key strategic takeaway here? It's this. Node 22 is not a flashy release. It's not filled with headline features. It's a quiet, but a deeply strategic one. Its real value isn't on the surface. It's in the direction it's pointing the entire ecosystem.
The benefits are crystal clear, and they're strategic. It strengthens isolation, which makes our apps more secure. It improves performance where it actually counts, under real-world conditions. And it continues to align Node with the web standards we all use, which just makes development smoother for everybody.
Look, most developers are just going to upgrade and move on, completely missing the point. But for those of you who take a minute to understand what really changed, you now have the ability to design fundamentally better, more secure, and more efficient systems. And that is the real competitive advantage.
So I'll leave you with this one question. You've already upgraded the runtime. That was the easy part. The real challenge is, will you now upgrade your architecture to actually take advantage of it?